Hello everyone, Zeldarinth here, and for today's video we're going to be doing a react to a Lightbird video. He has put out a pretty in-depth analysis on the Tachyon and Light Hello banner. Now I have not seen or looked into it at all other than kind of jumping around, just kind of see some of the little comments and images he has here. Now I've done a reaction to another content creator that covered whether or not it was worth it to do 400 polls like a month or two ago. And I have kind of had the thought process, based on my just own knowledge of math and statistics in this area, to say that while I don't think you should poll 400 polls or plan to poll 400, you first want to do your 200 polls, and then depending on how those 200 polls, that should dictate whether you go all the way to 400, which means you should have 400 polls ready to go. Just don't plan on using all of them, because the way the cards are and how many dupes and kind of the big breakpoints on them, if you go all the way to 200, in a lot of circumstances, you're not going to be in a good situation to pull a 400 and it ultimately change much with your account. Because I have some thoughts, and we'll kind of get to it when he talks about it, specifically on like how many dupes you might want of Agnes, Tachyon, Speed, and Light Hello. And Light Hello, my thoughts on Light Hello has changed quite a bit with all the early changes we've gotten, because originally Light Hello, one of my thought processes on her was Limit Break 3, I believe it's Limit Break 3, was a decent breakpoint for parent runs in Track Blazer. But I'm not doing it. Like, Track Blazer it's no longer that big of a deal, especially with this new auto, to worry about that with Light Hello. But less that, I don't want to yap too much at the early of this. It's a 53-minute video, and if you watched any of my reactions, I tend to at least double or triple the length of them. So who knows? This might end up being like a two-parter. We'll kind of have to see how it goes, but let's just go ahead and get right into it.
Hello everyone, Burb here. The next banner is probably the most important in Grand Live, so I wanted to make sure I did it justice, so I spent a bit of extra time making this slide presentation. So today I
Yes.
will
This is the most important. There's other ones that you could say are big hitters. Yeah, I mean, you have like the Summer Madizensky rerun alongside Fine Motion and a Super Creek with Mr. CB. Those are two very good ones that kind of top up your account, especially if you're a new player after this banner. And I almost could say if you're brand spanking new, this is the banner you reroll on, and then you save everything you can for, say, the Super Creek banner and pull on that, and then you just chill until Major Romanu, and you can have your account set up real quick as a new player just using those few banners. Outside of that, there's really nothing big. Grand Live, in my opinion, is like the last scenario where there's not too many big hitter support cards. There are big hitter ones, but they're very whale ones in it, like Daitako Helio Speed, and Tokai Teo Wit. That's literally right after this banner. Um, and so this one for a lot of people is going to be the one that drains their
be
carrots.
talking about two
They've been
cards,
saving
the
all of Track
Light Hello
Blazer.
Pal card and the Agnes Tachyon Speed card, both incredibly powerful cards that have a lot of stuff to talk about. I'll be doing it in my standard mathematical analysis format.
Yeah, I'm wondering how he's going to talk about them for an hour long. There is a lot of analysis in them, but I feel like the breakpoints on them are fairly straightforward. I mean, to me, Agnes Tachyon Speed is like MLB or bust, which is why I feel like 200 pulls for a lot of people is the amount of pulls you should do, because Agnes Tachyon is very backloaded with the skill point bonus. Light Hello, if I'm not mistaken, the major breakpoint you would like is Limit Break 2, but you can deal with lower, especially if you're complete free to play. But with trying to MLB Agnes Tachyon, it can be kind of tricky for a majority of players. And 400, as you've seen with my Summer Madizensky pulls, is not quite enough. Unless you kind of want to take into consideration rainbow crystals. I don't know if he's going to... I'm going to guess with how long this is, he will talk about
And
rainbow
if this gets a
crystals and
bit
their
too much,
value.
I completely understand. We going
Because
pretty
I will
deep
say,
into each one
rainbow
of these.
crystals are
I
one of the
almost split the
things
video up
that I
just because
really
there's a
don't
fair
take
amount of
into
stuff I have
consideration
to
too
talk
much.
about.
Because
But I
I've been
decided
hoarding
just to
them.
keep it one reference document sheet. There is chapters in the description if you want to do one or the other, and do one now and do one later. I completely...
Oh, he's got it broken down. I guess maybe he's going to be adding them, the chapters in here. So let's see. Agenda. Why is Light Hello required? That's a very easy one. Limit break comparison, estimated value, rare Light Hello, Agnes Tachyon, scenario link. I'm going to guess talking about what it kind of does there. The limit break comparison, to me, MLB or bust. The skill point bonuses are at the back end. Limit break 3 and limit break 4. Training compare,
You
estimated value.
understand? If you
Okay,
only
longevity. One thing you will see, and I'm gonna guess he'll say it too. Agnes Tachyon has a lot more longevity than people are thinking about. Very, very good stat stick speed card. And that skill point bonus, really nice. And if paired, and this is one thing you could do, especially if you spend money, and you potentially might want to not use Kita-san Black in some scenarios, especially going into Grand Masters, because Tokai Teo Wit exists. And if you actually look at what some of the Japanese players prioritized, I like to use Henry Handsome's Excel sheet that has the breakdown on all of them to look at it. You see the whale decks dropping Kita-san Black and using something like Agnes Tachyon Speed, just because she has speed, the skill point bonus, especially for the paces that are strong there. And then you get Professor of Curvature off of Tokai Teo Wit, which if you're willing to use the selectors, you can get yourself. And use Tokai Teo Wit alongside like Major Romanu. So there is definitely long-term value in the Agnes Tachyon speed card. It's not just a Grand Live only card, kind of like how Reischauer Power was only Unity Cup, which also kind of got killed off with the early update. Now, that will be one thing that I don't know if he's going to talk about it at all. If we get anything else early, I mean, now they've given a second anniversary mostly early. We may get evolutions. I don't think I've heard anything on that yet. But what did they give? I mean, I don't know everything that came out on the JP side. What was the 2.5-year anniversary buffs? What was the 3-year? What did they give out on 3-year anniversary? What did they? All these different things that they could give us early really could shift value of cards down the line.
Again, feel free to skip ahead to that. Those timestamps are in the description. But today, got a lot to talk about. For Light Hello, I'll be going over why she is.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna shorten this by he's gonna say what he's going over. We just kind of did that. Let's get to when he starts talking about.
Powerful card, and if there ever was a scenario text card to have that is a quote-unquote must pull or a must use in the scenario,
yes,
at least this one is actually really stabilizing and fun to use because she has a great gold skill, she has a ton of energy, she has a lot of mood ups, and she's a pal card, so it means that you're basically gonna.
I will say though, one thing is I wish he was similar to Tazuna in the sense I wish she had a heal. I don't believe she has a heal. That was the thing I loved about Tazuna, having that one heal you could rely on. But besides Tazuna, Light Hello is definitely going to be a really good card. One negative, and I don't know if he's going to mention it here. She's not like Rico. She's not a stamina card. Grand Live is going to suck for stamina. I know a lot of people, we've kind of been babied on how much stamina we've been able to get with either using Rico and Unity Cup or just random stats in Trackblazer. That is not the scenario here, but she does give decent stats everywhere else to a certain extent.
See your other chain events a lot more. There's a lot of positives to this card that the previous two PAL cards didn't really have as much. Of course, Tazna, really great for energy, good for stats, but didn't have a very good gold skill outside of frontrunners, but we couldn't really do it at that time.
Tazuna had tail held high. The gold wasn't good. It was concentration, which was good. But if she had tail held high, man, she was key for me in URA. I had pulled Tazuna early on when I pulled for Super Creek. MLB'd her. I got like limit break 8 of her because I kept pulling her. Like I loved her more than I liked Rico. Although Rico only annoyed me because I was unlucky on her banner and she was a permanent borrow in Unity Cup. I probably would have liked Rico more if I had her myself. I will have Light Hello. I will say that. I will have Light Hello.
Rico had the problem of, even though she gave a ton of stamina and guts, she really
confused. I said I get energy. It'll be a long one.
This one gives an incredible amount of energy, and that is her strength. She has See You Later, which is PTO Gold, which is incredibly good.
And that PTO Gold, really good for parents too. Not just I'm going to be bringing this card back into wherever I build parents. She's going to be there. While you do not need PTO in your parents for Grand Live, because she of course gives the gold version, See You Later, you will want it for later scenarios, and we won't see the gold version again until the Onsen Pal card, or the Hot Spring one.
Good gold skill, and just those two things alone make her rather comfortable to play.
I will have Light Hello, proceeds to get limit break 8 Tachyon. That means I'm using all my pities for Light Hello.
We have not done a PAL card on this channel, and they are very complicated because they follow different rules. I think I may have underreported it slightly, but I don't think it's more than 10%. So I think that for the purpose of comparison, this should be perfectly fine to do. So I've done my best. I have done my best to
They
state
may
my
be
assumptions
slightly
that I'm making as I'm
underreported.
going through, but do note that it could be off by about 10%, but I don't think that will matter as much. These estimates are basically
So this is margin of error of 10%. That's actually pretty significant of a margin of error, but we'll see what he means by that when he gets into it.
to get into the realm of reasonableness, okay? She's a scenario tax card, and the reason that is she basically has a mechanic that's heavily ingrained
Yes.
with the actual Grand Live scenario. I haven't gone over Grand Live, but the long and short of it is that you'll be collecting these song pieces to eventually go and buy lessons and songs that give you permanent buffs for the rest of the career. This is
Mm-hmm.
critical in order to actually reach the levels required to
And
get your
she gives you
stats
the
and your
tokens
skill
too.
points high enough to
Tons of
actually
them.
be competitive. This is a required
Tons of the ones
mechanic,
you don't
and
have.
she facilitates it with her event. Her scenario link is not only the fact she is a scenario link character
Yeah.
that gives more star pieces on training, but also because she has an event much like the group card Throne or like any of the other PAL
Yes.
cards
That
where
kind of
she
interacts,
gives you
yeah.
20 tokens of your least own song.
And this is very, very key. I mean, I've talked about it. I don't know if he's going to show it here. He's not really going to show it. But just to give you a visual on the songs here, we'll go into Grand Live. So you're going to be hitting these trainings for, I don't know, talk about it here. These are the tokens you need, and this is basically the amount you need for buying every song. Where's the one? There's a thing that says each training gives you different tokens. Here it is. So speed can give you, depending on the training you use, you're more likely to get the primary token, a little bit less likely to get the secondary token. And I think it's, yeah, 60% chance to get primary, 30% chance to get secondary. Um, and with the decks, your primary deck that you're going to use the most is going to be mostly speed, wit, and light hello. So you're going to be hitting speed and wit a lot, which will get you DA, VI, ME, and PA, which is 4 out of the 5. The big one that you're going to have a harder time getting is going to be VO, because power cards are absolutely dead. Do not bring power cards to Grand Live. And while you may bring stamina cards, like upcoming Dirt one, maybe Super Creek to help top up your stamina, you definitely will Verima Keenan. You're only going to get VOs every so often, and thus Light Hello can really top up those tokens for you that you don't get. You might actually get a lot of VO if you just get them really lucky with the 10%, and you might be hurting on something else. Light Hello will top up whatever you have the least amount of, and that is what makes her very, very good.
Token type. So know that this, if there is a finite resource and you are able to acquire something of your least own type, it is much, much higher value than any of the other options that you
Mm-hmm.
have, let's say. If something's
And
very
those
hard,
songs, the songs that you're buying with these tokens are very, very important. Well, I mean, one of them gives you more skill point bonus. Some of them give you speed bonus, wit bonus, I believe. There is stamina and guts and power bonuses. Power bonuses being an important one. You have ones that increase your special priority amongst all of your cards. That one's very big, is that's the one that really snowballs at you at the end, because you get all those special priority bonus ones, and now all of your cards are actually having a much easier time landing and giving you a crap ton of rainbows. And rainbows are very important because you get double the amount of tokens, or two token types on the training that you have rainbows.
to acquire, having even a little bit of it is very, very powerful. And having 20 is actually above rate for training, anyways. If it's anything like the Throne or like Rico was, it is kind of in between the realm of 40 to 50% chance that this event procs. But whenever you train with her, she has a chance of actually procking this event and giving you
Increase video?
20
Yeah, I can increase
tokens.
it.
Think of it this way.
There you
I
go.
have an allegory. The average Umamusume player needs five
I
things
try to
to
make sure it doesn't
survive:
overload
food,
me.
water, shelter, their phone, and internet, because how else are you going to be able to play Umamusume? Imagine you have a decision. You're off bushcrafting in the wilderness and you get lost. And you have two options. You can either go and get
He's
food and
comparing
shelter.
this to your survival out in the woods. I guess you could say this. Water. Well, I mean, isn't it what? Water is what? 3 days you die without water? Was it 2 weeks without food? Shelter? I mean, you can just sleep on the ground, hopefully, depending on where you live or where you're stuck at. Phone and internet, well, I mean, those would be super important because those are going to get you out of that scenario if you have them. as you're able to call for help. So,
Or you
let's
can
see.
go and get your phone and have an internet connection. What do you choose?
If out in the woods, I want my phone internet. Get myself out of there.
While that decision might be rather difficult, what you may notice with the big red text is neither of these are offering water. And that's how Grand Live really is that the speed and whip button can really only generate 4 of the 5 different types of song pieces. Just like this doesn't give the option of water, you may be able to press these red buttons as much as you want, but you will still die of thirst. What
Just call in and have Amazon or somebody deliver the water to
Hey
you.
Hello does is she's going to be able to give you
Just,
that and supplement the fact that you
but yeah,
can get
she is providing the most
a lot
important
of food, a
resource.
lot of shelter, a lot of phone, a lot of internet, and she'll give you the river to give you the amount of water that you need. That is why this is so important. It goes for whatever one that you seem to be lacking at the time, and that is why it is so valuable.
But a good
She gives you the
analogy
song
here.
piece that you need the most, and that is much higher value than anything else in the current game. Even if you were to run a stamina card to be able to grab the water pieces, or a guts card to run those water pieces as well, basically. We'll talk about more in Grand Line, but just know this is just a mechanic that is
Yeah,
practically
and this is just him kind of mentioning it. I mean, I kind of showed it. VO is kind of your water in this, which is the one that you get from power and stamina hits, which you're not going to be doing very often in Grand Live. If you're having to hit stamina or power too much, you're already probably bricking your run. Especially if you have to hit them later, because you want to get the rainbows ASAP because they give you a lot more tokens. And then as soon as you have rainbows, you want to be hitting speed and wit back and forth. The wit is basically your energy regain. If you don't have any good hits, that's where you date Light Hello. And if you run out of dates with Light Hello and you don't get a rainbow, I mean, that run may very well be bricked at that point. Because once you start buying those special priority songs, you should stop having problems on a high roll run with not getting rainbows, especially if you're doing a 3-speed 2-wit Light Hello deck.
required, in my opinion, after looking at it and watching other people run the runs. So this is why she's a scenario text character. Okay? For her Limberback break comparison, when you're looking at this, it's a lot like Rico. Her training effectiveness increases from 0 to 10 at 2 LB and then caps out, and the rest of her stats basically slowly increase over time. There's
Yeah,
nothing that's
like
too
all of them.
impressive. It's just all these little things that are increasing the event effectiveness, the failure protection, the event recovery, the energy cost decrease, all this stuff, the initial stats, it just slowly adds up.
I mean, the big one to me is going to be Limit Break 2 for training effectiveness 10. That's the key one. Originally I liked Limit Break 3 for the 5% race bonus for bringing her back into Track Blazer when I was thinking about, like, before we knew we were going to have auto in that, because that would have been, like, 3 race bonus basically meant you had 0 when it comes to hitting those thresholds. 5 meant that you can offset it with a 15%, but that doesn't matter anymore. So it's basically Limit Break 2 is the big one for the 10% training effectiveness. You do get the initial speeds here, but if a lot of the times you're going to get plenty of speed, especially if you're doing a 3-speed deck, that this isn't going to be as much of a difference maker in the end.
Over time, and that's kind of the key with this card is whatever LB that you get, the easier your run's going to be because you get slightly more energy, you get slightly more stats, you get a little bit more training effectiveness. There's nothing that's like jumping out at you about this card, like let's say a power bonus or a speed bonus that you would get on like a wit card or a speed card that almost like adds an additional 20 to 25% of its trainings and is critical. There's nothing on this card. Now, the unique effect is kind of very important. It says during friendship training, which are the training types you're going to be taking the entirety of Grand Live, you get a bonus
Yep.
30% energy cost.
And that is very important. You're going to be doing now. I mean, speed's the main one, but you're chasing rainbows the entire run. You just want to constantly be hitting rainbows. If you can't hit a rainbow on a turn, it's a bad turn, like a really bad one. You want to avoid that as much as possible. And that's why you also, I mean, her dates, like I said, offset
Reduction,
that.
which is massive. That's basically a think of it like wit training, wit recovery like +6, right? Wit recovery +6, but on every training except for wit, that is a friendship. That's very important. We'll get back to that when we have the R Light Hello card, and we'll talk about that. for that. Otherwise, it's just initial speed and initial guts in 3LB plus is her special. So really what we're looking at is just the slow increase of event recovery and event effectiveness, because PALs are a little bit weird when it comes to training. We're going to go and use a table to accrue all of our stats as we're moving along. I think this will be very valuable. If you're really just looking for the table, just come back after I go through all the math of each one when I go
All
and pop
right,
up a
let's
table that
see.
looks like this. Okay, so basically we're adding our initial stats that we have. MLB gets 30-30 for speed guts, 0B gets 0 speed, and 25 guts. So just a nice little starting point for our various different LB.
Now, you would normally in Track Laser, you like that initial speed or even like initial power because you had to do those early races. Grand Life, you're pretty much not racing at all outside of when it makes you race, or potentially you might have an Uma that has a secret event that wants you to do a race that can give you a good chunk of stats or skill points or whatnot. But outside of that, you're not. So having those early initial stats is not as important. It's like you're going to be getting a ton of speed because you're going to bring your speed cards and you're going to just be hammering them the entire time. If the run's dead if you're not getting a lot of speed and wit hits from them. So not nearly as important on the initial stats that it was in Track Laser.
Yes. For her events, basically at the start, her fixed events on your first training, you get 20 pieces of your least type, as well as a mood up, of course, and a bunch of guts and a little bit of guts and SP. But the big thing is that
Yep.
gives you some bond, and that additional bond basically makes it a lot easier for you to go and get the start date. Basically, what happens is once you get 40-ish or more, it can technically start early, but it's a lower rate. You have a chance every single turn for her to go and choose to run.
And you never take the bottom option. That's just dumb. Always take the like if you, Maverick. I mean, who thought of this option? Like, what situation are you wanting to take this option? Like, the run's dead if you don't start the date early. Like, I don't
Her
know.
start date event.
It's
Once that
just
happens,
funny.
you unlock dating, and it's just like any other PAL card. If you've never run Rico, um, basically you have the choice to go through a chain event. It's not like a base card where the chain events go and take up slots. Now you just press the button, you use a turn, and you get these rewards. That's basically what it is. And these rewards have a ton of energy. That is their sort of primary reason to do so, is basically you're replacing your rest button. And in Grand Live, you will be pressing the rest
Yes.
button, but it'll be much less because
No, in Grand Live, you should not. Like, I think the test runs I've done where they felt like it was a good run, you do not rest ever. You do not ever rest. I mean, you're going heavy wit, speed cards. You're gonna have, especially towards the end, you're gonna be there's songs that increase special priority, so those cards should be landing much better. And so your resting is wit hits. Wit should be carrying you on your resting. And then Light Hello is there to do the dates on the one turn, the couple turns that you do not get rainbows. And then of course, if your summer goes awry, you can't actually use her recreation. That can be a pretty bad run. Um, just because you can't date in the summer. But outside of that, she's your rest button, and if you have to do more than her dates, I would consider the run a dead run, unless you've been ungodly lucky on like all your other turns.
your
Um,
first few rests are probably
unlikely
going to be
unlikely to be a good
your
run.
dates with Light Hello, and you'll probably get them rather early because you're really, really trying to force those friendships to start friendship training as early
Yes.
as possible. Okay, so think of this. Even number 3 has 80 total energy at MLB. Of course, we'll talk about it beforehand, but most of the stuff is practically just energy, and it's energy on command. The last event is going to give you See You Later, which is playtimes over maximum. It's technically an Agemasen, but at worst you get one level a See You Later instead. It could
Yep.
just be a flip because honestly it doesn't have a stat attached to it, so I bet you it's just a straight flip. But other than that,
I'm not sure if there's a 50-50 or there's a stat. I mean, it always felt like, I know with Tazuna, she didn't have a stat attached either, but it always felt like at the end of runs, I got concentration more often than not. It might be the same case here. Maybe it is attached to something. I don't think there's anybody that's showed math on that, though.
it's just energy. This is just a rest button replacement kind of thing. Otherwise, besides the two fixed events, there is
Yeah, the key one. Copano Ricky lovers. There's your frontrunner Savvy. Now, like we've already talked about the next CM, she's going to struggle with stamina. But the mile one, there's your front runner, so you can build her as front runner, and she probably will be the strongest as front runner to have a consistent excel. She uses her, and also your any front runner. All your front runners have easy access to front runner savvy. So one of your greens already taken care of.
Is an event if you go and get
And
her
your
to be
pace chasers who
unlocked
want to get
before the
groundwork
start of
too.
Classic Year, which is probably going to be required because if she doesn't appear before Classic Year starts, you're pretty cooked, honestly, because you've already gotten through a Grand Live and you haven't been getting any of the Grand Live pieces. So
Yeah, run's dead if you don't get it early. It's just like if you don't get your rainbows early. Grand Live is a lot of people are going to like that it's shorter, but it's shorter in one respect that you're killing runs off very early. You're going to know the run's dead before you even get to the first inspiration in a lot of cases. You're not getting the friendship up for to get rainbows. Light hellos not starting her dates. Um, so lots and lots and lots of runs to build aces.
So it's probably a reset anyways. So you're probably just getting a choice of more energy or of frontrunner savvy and pace racer savvy. So your frontrunner players, you get a free green, and those Ricky players, you basically get a free frontrunner green if you decide to build her frontrunner at the end of career,
Yep.
just like anything else. Any other pal card, any other group card, you get some of her 2 stats, speed guts, as well as some SP at the very end. And you get a little bit more if you max out her bond, which you should be because all of her dates actually increase her
Easy
bond
max out.
by roughly
If
5.
you don't max out her bond, it's already a dead run too, because she's helping save you energy if she's landing on speed and wit or giving you more. Or if you have to the random couple times that you do hit stamina or power or guts just for friendship early on, she's very key at saving you energy there.
5 to 7 depending on the events. Okay. Otherwise, there is a chance that you get a random mood up option. There's 7 mood ups on this card. It's actually kind of insane. So really, really nice to stabilize your run. This is what's important, and this is what we need to start analyzing with these PAL cards. Without any bonuses or anything,
Now, because she's a link match, it's just like Rico. These will be higher.
her events give you 190 energy, 70
If I'm
guts,
not
and 40 speed,
mistaken.
at least the ones that are required and are
We'll see.
not
He
random
should
events,
mention
okay?
he's pretty good
So we're
about
going to take
knowing
out the
these
random
things.
events. This is just what you get by pressing the date button 5 times, as well as going and successfully having the start and end of career stuff. So what you do with this is you just multiply it with the energy recovery and event effectiveness. The energy is multiplied by the energy recovery. The event effectiveness is multiplied by the stats. So this 70 guts is multiplied by that 25 at 0 LB for a grand total of 87 guts, because it's 70 times 1.25 for 87. And then the event recovery at that point for 0 LB is 190 times 1.4, which would give you 266. And as you can see, you basically slowly progress your stats, slowly progress your guts as well, sorry.
Massive energy.
And then your energy actually, like, it doesn't look like that much, but it's basically a slow increase of nice to haves. Over the course of a run, you're looking at about 9 to 10 energy per LB just in your events. And that is, of course, on command, so you can decide to run it early or not, but most times you're going to be going and utilizing this energy, and it may cause you to go and grab an extra wit tap or grab an extra speed tap over time. Basically, you get a half of a training per limit break just in her
I mean,
events
just the energy would be just nice because, I mean, like you just don't want to
itself.
rest.
So
You
if we
want to
go and
avoid
we
it at
add
all
it to
possible.
the actual initial stats, we're going to be, again, accruing
Ooh, little
everything.
mistake
We
there, I
now have an
think.
energy column
He's
here.
just got a floating number on there.
We're going to add the guts before. We see we just added the initial guts and the initial speed to it. And what we have is basically MLB is at 82 speed.
Now, there's a reason I don't do PowerPoints though, because I'd have stuff like this all over. I'm very disorganized when it making PowerPoints.
Whereas regular is 50. The guts is basically the same no matter where you're at the moment. And then the energy goes, and of course, is the new column. So the race bonus does have an effect. We calculated back in the really old video of why I'm pulling a nice nature, the original card review. Mostly was used to justify my pullings, but we found that, like, just in the scenario events and stuff, it'll generally give you 5 race bonus, generally gives you 20 stats and about 40-ish SP. So each limit break gives you basically another 5 stats and 8 skill points. But honestly, it's not too much.
This doesn't matter at all. I mean, this is too negligible to care. I mean, like I had mentioned, the 5 race bonus was originally for bringing her back into Track Blazer for parent runs, and that's the only thing you really cared about, which doesn't matter anymore, realistically.
Much of a difference over the
Unless, of course, some people will still want Track Blazer. Still, in some people's eyes, the best scenario because you want to have the climax scenario spark for that stamina guts. Although a lot of people, myself included, will be doing the autos in the background, just spamming them. And URA is also a very nice one because the auto's not going to get SS in either one of them. And so it doesn't matter which one. And I like the URA Spark for getting the speed and stamina versus stamina and guts. Ultimately, both of them are very good because it's going to be one way to get guts, which with the auto, this doesn't matter. Outside of the auto does care that from testing, it does care about how many limit breaks you do have in your cards in general.
Of course, run, that's 8 total skill points. It's just another nice to have. Specialty priority for PAL cards, there is none, but in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but they don't
Yeah, isn't it? It's still a special priority in her chance to show up, right? Her chance to show up on the trainings. I don't know.
follow the same rules as regular cards, and I didn't realize this ever either. She follows NPC logic, and NPC logic isn't the standard one.
Yeah, it's just like a Unity Cup, right? Where they can not show up, but like just not show up at all versus showing up on something.
100 over 550 plus specialty priority to numerator denominator. She follows NPC logic, which says that they go on vacation more. So basically, they have an
Now, I wonder if now taking that into consideration though, does the special priority from the songs that impacts all cards, does that impact her, basically giving her a special priority to show up more? I don't know if special priority impacts the PAL card and just making her actually show up more.
80% chance to train and a 16% chance of training on each one of them. So she just has a flat 16% chance to train on any of the 5 separate trainings. It's not the 18.1, so it's a lower percent chance to actually train. And this goes for all PAL cards, and I want to say it's group cards, but I don't exactly know. I bet you if I read Japanese, I would know 100%, but this is the number that we have to use for specialty priority. Basically, when going and calculating her training value, we have to figure out how many taps she's actually going to be on a useful training. In all
Well, I mean, it'll depend. Early on, like when you're just trying to get friendship bonus, you might be willing to hit off of the more like what you might view as a better one with her. You might be willing to chase her a little bit more as long as she's landing with other support cards just to save energy and then get friendship early on. While your speed and wit will be much more important once you have the rainbows going and you're just kind of going back and forth between the two.
scenarios, there currently is 75 training taps, 3 years of 24, basically 12 months times 2, times 3 years, of course, and then 3 for the 3 various, what's it called? uh, climax scenario. Well, that's the previous one. URA finale. So the 3 turns in URA finale plus the 72 that are in the base 3 years. Now, on average, I think your career has between 8 and 10. We're going to go with 8 for career.
8. Oh, is this what you said? Is this how many she's gonna land correctly?
To get that number of trainings, and then
Oh, he's talking about the career, the ones that okay that you can't train because the career is gonna make you do a race or
going to
something.
subtract 12 from that number to have a grand total of 55 training, because at the start of the run, the entire pre-debut, let's say, you're going to be pressing your light low. You're going to have 5 data
Okay, yeah, okay. So he's taking into consideration the chasing her and getting friendship up.
events. You're going to be wanting to press things without light hello at the start. That's not going to have training. And before you start getting her actual bond up and your other cards up a little bit, this is the big thing, is that we're going to be talking about her friendship trainings. It's going to take you between 7 turns plus her dates, let's say, to get everyone's friendship bonus at a level where you start having like consistent friendship. And I know it's a
Consistent if it's a good run. I mean, of course, you're gonna have the bad runs where the run just
little
dies.
bit of feels crafty, but there has to be a line in the sand drawn, and I think that this is a decent line through tests, just empirically, that people that guy's been doing. The final number shown here later is going to be pretty close to what I have shown as well. So if we go and multiply that by her specialty priority, basically her NPC specialty priority rate, we're going to get 8.8 speed trainings because she chooses each one 16% of the
Okay,
time, times 55. So we have 8.8 speed trainings. And also, we
so that's gonna be how many wit trainings as well. But speed training's the big one because that's where she's saving you energy if your speed cards are on there with her.
need to make sure that there's someone else on the training. because we need one of our speed cards to go there with her in order to actually have a friendship training with.
Man, he's actually gonna, okay, the chance she gets there and the speed card lands there with her. But you have 2 speed decks and 3 speed decks. The biggest main speed deck you'll see most people running is gonna be, well, the main 2 ones, Kita-san Black with Agnes, Tachyon, Speed. The third one being Flexible, a lot of times Maruzensky. But there's quite high special priority on Agnes, Tachyon, and Kita-san Black. Summer Maruzensky is fairly low. If you don't have that, maybe you might have some Biko Pegasus users who still are using Biko Pegasus if they haven't pulled on a 3-speed deck. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, this one's a little tricky. I want to see how he kind of breaks this one
For a
down.
lot of the stuff that this card gives. Okay, so the odds of that is basically the everything except the failure chance. So the failure chance is all 3 speed cards have gone away, with no specialty priority. It's an
Okay,
18.
so he is saying 3. No, okay, and he's taking into consideration no special priority. I wonder if he's gonna, because special priority is very key in this, because you're gonna be getting songs that give every single support card special priority. The very end of the run, that you're going to be seeing those rainbows way more often. I mean, I've tested it in a few runs, and it really snowballs. It is very noticeable towards the end that your special priority is higher.
0.1% chance for any speed card to go to speed. And for 3 of those, you just multiply that by itself 3 times, or you cube it for a 45% chance. But if we want to go and be a little more accurate, we can just say, well, what's most likely most people are going to use? Some level of Kidison and
Hey, he mentioned the
Agnes
cards I did.
Tachyon and um, uh, Marzensky Summer speed. And if you do the specialty priority for these cards, you're going to get about 62% of the time you're going to have at least one of them on speed, which is really powerful. It's really why Tachyon and
And it only goes up as you get those songs.
Kidison are so powerful because of their high specialty priority in this scenario. But I think we go and need kind of split the difference because not everyone's going to have those cards. People are going to have Sweep Tosho. People are going to want to use like Fuku. I think 57%
Oh my
is
god,
a
do
good
not use Fuku. Fuku's so I know so many people argued that Fuku's very still good. No, Fuku sucks. I'm sorry. Fuku's just bad. She doesn't just I don't think she has special priority. And you don't need the initial stats anymore. You like Fuku was very good for Track Blazer just for the simple fact it made the early runs easier. So unless you don't have anything else, to me, she's not nearly as good
between
as
the 45
even
of
some of
not
the
having any
SR
specialty priority and the
options.
62 of having like ideal specialty priority of like the highest levels of whale deck. So we'll do 57%. It is technically arbitrary, but it will go and work for our purposes. So we have
Yeah, just getting a
57% of the
general
time
idea is
times
always
the
good.
16% that she's actually on it. We have roughly 9.7% of the time where we have a great light hello tap. We will have great taps otherwise. So do not worry. It's not
Fuku
only
haters unite.
10% of stuff you're going to have bad, like you're gonna have bad
I
91% of
used
the
her like
time, but
twice in
light
Track
hello just
Blazer
won't
with
be
borrows and never
effective
touched her again.
90% of the time. That's fine because that's generally how support cards work is they go to training sometimes and then they don't go to training other times. And 9.7% isn't much lower than the rest of it, but it is lower than normal because of NBC logic, basically. So if you want a little bit of bonus, if we do the same thing with 2 wit cards, we find that basically it's a 7.22%. It's 45% using stuff like Fine Motion or Nice Nature.
Yeah, they're a little harder to get to land.
As well as Mr. C.
And I mean, there's some advantages to some of the other wit cards. I haven't gone through all of them. I kind of want to make a video on the wit cards specifically in Grand Live. Outside of the value they have, of course, for their golden skills, like Arima Keenan for your end closers, of course you want to bring Mr. CB. In a lot of cases, your pace chasers, light or nice nature for Speed Star. But if you just want the generic wit card for hits, one of the big things that could be very useful, or just make the runs feel a lot better, are higher starting friendship. One thing that's going to really suck, especially if your 2 cards are Fine Motion and Nice Nature, they are both very low starting friendship, and that's going to suck. If you just have a run where one of them just doesn't show up and you cannot get them to rainbows quick enough, I mean, the run just dies because of that wit card alone by itself.
CB as well. So we can estimate 5.3 friendship taps, 4 friendship whip taps, and then I have 8.3 non-friendship taps, no matter what. It's just wit or it's speed. And this adds up to about 18-ish taps. And what I found with JJ and them in the Guide Discord, that's roughly around where you're going to be. The higher rolls, you're going to have like 22 light hello taps, and the low rolls, you're
22.
going to
Okay.
have like 16. 18 is roughly where it is, and that's time to build up friendship. That's time to friendship train with them, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So I do believe that this is a relatively good estimate in this regard. So 17.6 relevant taps with 4 wit friendships, 6.2 wit non-friendships because you're generally going to want to press the wit button more, 2.1
Yep.
speed non-friendships with
Well,
light
wit's
hello,
your
and
wit's your
5.3 speed
resting. I
friendships.
mean,
Nope.
you're resting with wit. I mean, if you're getting those double rainbows, and it's giving you that energy, that's your rest. You take those. And even with 3 speed, it'll be tricky because depending on where you're at in the run, I mean, because there'll be cases where you might have a double wit, triple speed, and this will be something you'll see more often towards the end of a run versus the beginning. And if you've already done all your dates with light hello and you want to hit that triple speed, and it can put you into a risky situation of thinking about, if I get the wit hit in the next turn, which hopefully you do, what are your odds of passing the wit check on that?
Note as well, in the run up of not like all these non friendship speeds, they really are technically like non friendship all stuff, right? Realistically, it doesn't really matter if it's speed or if it's stamina or if it's power. You're going to be getting stats, and the math is the same because it's just a separate, stat. But it's a lot of
Yeah.
complexity to add. I think that just speed and wit is perfectly fine. That's what you're going to be pressing, like 80 to 85%.
Yeah, I mean, those are what you're hitting. I mean, the very beginning, you may get some stamina, power, or guts hits just based on friendship bonus. She lands on them with the other cards. Bam, you hit it. You get a little bit, but you can't count on it. And you definitely don't want to be doing it once you start getting rainbows going, because you're not going to get rainbows on those ones. If you're hitting anything but speed and wit from that point, you're losing out on a ton of tokens by hitting something
On
else.
the time anyways, but realistically, if it's a power or a stamina tap and there's light hello on it, the odds of it being a good light hello tap is probably still just about the same, if not slightly lower. But realistically, over time, you're probably hitting
I mean, it
this
need,
in
like,
a
if
run.
I'm
It's
hitting
my
speed
modeled estimate.
I'm hitting stamina or power outside of speed and wit, it's because one, I don't have a speed and wit hit, and two, like, all the other cards are on it, so I'm getting a massive stat hit. Like, it'll be really nice maybe if you have like a stamina hit where every single support card plus your light hello lands on it, and you're getting like 40 or 30 or 40-ish stamina. Those will be a nice hits, but they're going to be very, very, very you're not going to see them often enough to really count on something like that.
For it. This is the other assumption that's a little tough. When you friendship with wit friendship, because there's so many cards in the game, you have to multiply it by all the different friendship bonus that you're going to be on, whether it's a double or a triple, like for speed, etc. It's just so difficult to model. I'm adding a flat modifier because I've already talked about light hello so much already. This is
Yeah.
relatively fine. You think like a fine motion tap, right? If you have fine motion and light hello, you multiply your training effectiveness of 15 for fine motion plus our 35%, like multiply that by the 35% of friendship bonus plus the 10% or 5% that light hello will give, and you get roughly like 95% for fine motion, and then a non-fine motion tap's going to be like 60%. So this I think is reasonable. The speed friendships is just triple. You have triple logic 7% of the time,
Yep.
double logic like 14%, and then single logic later. It's really complicated. This is the one thing I'll say trust me on. It's just these I think are rather reasonable bonuses to TEF and MEF and friendship bonus over the course of time. But the whole purpose of this is threefold basically. Try to find the
What is he showing here? Oh, the token gain plus energy.
training effectiveness and what it
Oh,
gives.
yeah.
I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. Oh, sorry. I knew that this was gonna be pretty long. So training effectiveness for wit. You do the standard like training tap strength formula of you multiply it by the TEF, which is our multiplier. Like we combine all the TEF, MEF, and friendships of other
Yeah.
cards into one big multiplier. We multiply it by the 8 total wit taps. Sorry,
The total. Okay, so he's saying how much
8
you're getting
total
over
wit
a whole run
that
here.
we're gaining from it from a level 3 wit, right? A level 3 wit. Sorry, this is speed. These are for speed, but that's fine. This is level 3 wit tap. And then we multiply it by 5.3 times, and we find it's about 2.3 wit per wit tap that the 5% training effectiveness specifically on this card only is giving us. The same thing that happens with the secondary stat. It's technically over, but I think I fixed it here. It's actually supposed to be 6 and 2, but I think I fixed it here. So these are the right numbers, just the wrong equation, because I was doing the same thing for speed and I copied it over. But speed is 8-4 for base speed and power. Yes, the actual levels will increase this, but as a base, every single
So he's just
speed tap
averaging
that
it
she
out.
does that is not actually that is
I mean, because if he's just averaging it out, I mean, because we're gonna be hitting speed and wit so much, it's gonna be just like if you remember back in the URA doing Baksheen runs. I know a lot of people when they wanted to rank chase back when we only had the URA, you did basically the speed wit deck, and you just got you got max speed, max wit, and whatever else on the other stats. I mean, the same case here. You're gonna get those. You're gonna get your facilities leveled up very quickly. And because I mean that's like all you're hitting is speed and wit. You're only racing when you have to, and I mean, he's not really taken into consideration, but it's an additional factor. And maybe he's probably going to make a guide on Grand Live itself and then include those factors in there. But you're going to be adding speed bonus and wit bonus and power bonus and all those other things from buying all the songs. You're going to be buying special priority. So it'll change this equation in general. This is everything if you just take it outside of the scenario itself.
is not actually a friendship training, gives a bonus 1 speed and a 0.55 power, just because of the 5% training effectiveness. The same thing for speed friendship. You have to do the add 1.25 for 2.25, and the wit friendship is the same as well. And you get these numbers. You add them up, and basically base without any other considerations, you basically get over the course of a run additional 5 wit, 9 speed, and 3 power. And I know that seems low. This is where I said it was slightly underreported because this doesn't take into account multi-trainings and it doesn't take into account increases in actual
Yeah, like you're getting all the other little bonuses and stuff in there that this
like
impacts.
training effectiveness level, which probably is the big one. So you could probably consider doubling this, and it's about what it would actually be. So about 9 wit, 7.
But it is nice to see how. I mean, I still think the 10% maybe is a little bit more than that, but I mean, hey, it's good to see. I mean, it makes sense on the math at a base level, but I'd probably say maybe even triple or quadruple this, depending on how good the run is.
17 speed.
But I mean, hey, this is a good number to show. Hey, for those that are free to play and you have bad rolls and you're having to go with a lower limit break, light hello, because I think limit break 1 is considered a decent starting point as well. Or if you're just having to cope with really bad luck, 0 limit break, it gets you the main mechanics out of light hello, and you're just losing out a little bit of stats for not having the training effectiveness on her.
And about
But I mean, there's all those other little things too that help, and if it's a difference between getting an extra tap in or not, like on the energy savings, these numbers are a lot bigger. But this is specifically he's talking about only training
power
effectiveness
bonus
here.
per 5 training effectiveness. So
There's
for the
a
different LBs,
lot
again,
of
0, 1, 2
nuance.
LB is what happens.
There's a lot of nuance to all of these numbers. Like there's a lot of things you have to think about.
And this is where we add the power, wit, and speed to the table we had prior, and it's starting to go and pull away a little bit. The big one is energy reduction. This is honestly where most of her value comes about. Again, the unique effect is during friendship training, she has 30% reduction. We take our same modeling as before for the 17.6 relevant taps. Obviously, if it's not a friendship training, it doesn't count, and you get only the 5% to 10% energy cost reduction. And if it's a wit tap, there is no energy cost reduction, so it doesn't count as all. So basically, you get the 30% modifier bonus on the speed, friendship, or I guess, and then the base value on the speed / not wit category there at that point. So for the 7.4 relevant taps of these 2 categories, basically, we find that over the course of a run, this passive plus the energy cost reduction that Light Hello gives you approximately 41-ish energy just
For
for
okay, I
the
see what you're
speed
saying here.
friendships, as well as about 4 bonus energy for the non-friendship bonus.
You're saving over the course of a run on those taps 40 energy. So at higher roll, it's more than that. I mean, because ultimately, Grand Live's a high roll scenario in the sense that it's very fast and you're killing these runs very quickly because it's very obvious when you're already on a low roll. So you're killing your low rolls very quickly. And so then the difference when it comes towards the end of a run is between like a medium roll, like your average roll, and a high roll. And so definitely on
Bonus
high roll, you're
trainings, about
saving
one
a good
per
chunk more
training,
than
if that
that.
makes sense, which kind of makes sense. It's kind of the similar thing that Fuku does in that respect. Over the course of time, your limit break does actually matter. Every single tap up to 3 LB has an increase in energy cost reduction, and while it's not that much over the course of a run, you're talking a matter of about 10 energy from 0 LB to 3 LB over time. So if we go and we add,
And while it might seem little, it could be the difference between hitting a tap and not hitting one. You just don't fail. Yeah, just gamble. I mean, ultimately, anyone can high roll even with it at lower limit break. You're just gonna have like the difference between a 10% failure rate or maybe a 20% failure rate, and that might dictate whether you want to hit it or not. How often is it gonna come into a play? You could say not too often, but it would be noticeable. It is very noticeable, and I've noticed that depending on when I've used decks with lower limit break than higher limit break.
that to our energy calculations, we see that basically no matter what, at 0 LB, you're getting like 300 energy over the course of a run for the SSR. It's really, really good, but you do get a bonus 50
Oh yeah,
energy
he
for
hasn't talked about the S or the rare yet. There's a lot of people that will say like with Rico you could cope with rare Rico. I absolutely did not think you could cope with rare Rico, but maybe that was a free to play thought. And me having all those other cards, it felt terrible to use. Light Hello is definitely much different than the Rico situation with rares, which I think he does talk about it here, because one, she actually has a usable gold with See You Later. Everybody's gonna. It's a very useful skill. Playtime's Over is usable on everybody. Probably the only one that I would still take it, but will have the least amount of value would be an end closer. But your end closer still can take advantage of it once they get in front of someone, and then it can keep them in front of the other end closers. And thus,
well-being
that alone just makes her better on that aspect. But then all this other stuff is much
this
lower on
card,
the
which is a
rare.
very nice to have because that is about 2 extra bonus trainings. Failure protection, very hard to model. Realistically, the only thing this is really doing is giving you some chances for wit, or
I mean, it's reducing the failure. I mean, and then if you're a high roll gambler, like you're the person like me, when you're going for that really high roll and you're hitting those 30% chance to fails, I mean, this can be the difference between, I don't know how many runs, you'd have to say how many runs you actually do and how many times you've gambled this, but I can tell you, like, what's a 10% difference going to make? Probably not enough for this to be something you even care about to think about when it comes to how many polls you have.
if you're gambling a lot for speed and stuff, it might go and affect you getting a better training that you would otherwise do not. But everything besides wit basically is an opportunity cost of using the
Here's the card that's really good for this. Nakayama Festa. 20% of the time, she makes it free. You just can't fail it. I mean, and it's been very noticeable with the Nakayama Festa on that. I mean, you could have what, like, she just lands on wit, you see that rainbow with no energy, and you can still hit it. Feels real good.
energy. So
Yeah, you just got to high roll Nakayama wit. You just got to roll the dice and hit that 20% multiple
it
times.
is essentially the same roll. It gives you a little bit more selection. There is value here. I did not model it due to
I will
time.
say that was one of the things with how bad my Summer Madezensky polls went. Nakayama Festa is really good. I'm really liking the card. I mean, outside of needing on your left for a late surger with with nice nature, and with fine motion needing maybe Speed Star or the greens, of course, or Nimble Nav off fine motion. Nakayama Festa is like one of my now core wit cards, at least potentially through Grand Live, and then you'll have Major Romanu. Also very good for the sprints, just for the fact that it has nothing ventured. But very
But
nice
just know
card to
that this
use.
probably gives you a bonus amount of wit taps that you wouldn't otherwise have because the failure protection is actually quite a lot. It's 30% of base value. So if you're 20%, it would be about 15% for 25%, right? So 25% failure protection reduces it by 5% if there's 20%. So it's of total, but just don't fail, right? Initial friendship gauge. Do note that the threshold is on 26, so 1 LB removes 1 tap. Also, very important that that 1 tap, this double tap part right here, so these 2 taps, the actual base first training gives you +7 instead of +5 bond, which means your first tap on her will activate her as long as you have 1 LB plus, which is a very nice to have because you don't have to
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because the additional, so getting you into that point, that could be a different that, and that's the same thing with like what I was mentioning with the race bonus. The difference between 3% and 5% was noticeable on the threshold in Track Blazer, and it looks like that's the same case here with friendship. I always like to think of friendships in the cases of going up by fives because of the hits and trying to hit those specific thresholds. And it looks like that's the same scenario that we have
Go
here,
around
basically.
chasing her to try to start her chain event. You just tap her once, and that's it. You have Light Hello active, and she's currently rolling on doing her starting event. So really nice to have at 1 LB
That's
plus
a good thing to
in
know
that
about the
initial
limit break
friendship
one.
gauge. Let's talk about the R real quick. My personal opinion, I think
Sucks.
a 0 LB copy is practically required for SSR.
Wait, wait, what did he say
Not to
here?
say that you can't run Grand Live with just the
Oh, he's saying SSRs above rare, right? Let me hear it again.
required. My personal opinion, I think a 0 LB copy is practically required.
Yeah. Okay. So he's saying rare, dead on arrival. Of course, same for me. The zero limit break SSR is better than MLB rare in like every way. I mean, the gold skill's actually useful. Rico, the gold skill sucked, so it didn't matter in taking into consideration. And the trainings and all that are better
For
on the
SSR.
SSR.
Not to say that you can't run Grand Live with just the MLBR version, but this is not a Rico situation. There's two big things that this card doesn't have. First of all, the passive. The passive is the energy cost reduction. That energy cost reduction, like I said, is about 44 energy at MLB, but realistically, it's still 40 energy at 0 LB. If you have absolutely nothing else, that energy is going to be massive because it is on command due to her events, and it is going to have a lot of value and cause you to take less wit taps because you're struggling to get your energy more often. Energy is so powerful in Grand Live because it just kind of directly translates into more trainings, which is more
Yep.
friendships,
You do
which
not
means
want to
more
rest.
song
No
tokens,
rest.
which means more scenario mechanics, which then loops around
No
and basically
resting.
snowballs in the
Resting
game
equals
and
death.
lets
Your
you
Uma
go and get
dies in
more
their sleep
permanent
if they
buffs,
go to
which
sleep.
boost your trainings over and over again. You see how that works? Every little bit of advantage that you can get in Grand Live is a lot, and this R card does not have this massive energy cost reduction for doing the friendship training. It doesn't
Can
have
Light
that
Hello
win
be
more.
used? Yeah. Light Hello is usable in Unity, and I will be using it in Unity as a parent card because it has gold, or See You Later, which is the gold version of Playtime's Over. While you don't need that in your parents for Grand Live, you do for Grand Masters and other potential scenarios when there is no support card that has it built in. And that's always a shifting goal, but Light Hello is always going to be great for getting that built into your parents.
Thing that the other one has. Remember, it's a reminder. This is what
But
the
yeah,
base life.
all you're always bringing to wit because that is your resting. You do not want to rest. And the what's nice is in the scenario, some of the songs give plus special priority to all of your cards. And so by towards the end of the run, your wit cards and your speed cards should pretty much always be giving you rainbows. Like you should not see any turns with zero rainbows unless it's a low roll, of course. And that's what's basically going to make it where you never rest. The couple times where you are in a bad situation is where you actually do the Light Hello
Hello
dates.
has you would be sacrificing training effectiveness at 0 LB, but you would be getting that energy cost reduction. So this R version has basically all the bad, not necessarily useful things of the Light Hello card. You do get the training effectiveness of a 1 LB. You get the max race bonus and fan bonus, the energy cost reduction base, but
Yeah,
you
not
lose the
worth it at all.
passive.
Like
You
it's
basically lose
the
all
rare
the event
card's
recovery
dead.
and event effectiveness, the failure proc, everything that the SSR card does, and most importantly, you lose the gold version of Playtime's Over. This is not like Rushing Gale, where it was just kind of a nice to have, and you could go and
Right, Rushing Gale was not a nice to have. It was, I mean, except for the sprint, it was
do
useless.
our reach.
And guess what? It was a sprint. Rico was useless for the sprint because she's a stamina card. Like Rushing Gale, useless on her. This is just a generically good speed skill.
Go. Playtime's Over is the most consistent skill basically in the game. It's someone is following you, and someone's going to follow you at some point. And on long track, someone's going to follow you twice because this thing has a cooldown. This is like a
Yeah.
ridiculously good skill that you're going to want on pretty much every character, and it's a really
Here's
good
the
point.
thing, and here's the thing that's going to suck for all of us. We all got so used to people using Rico and seeing all the jobbers just taking gold skills for the sake of taking a gold skill. So they'd be taking Rushing Gale for like say the Libra Cup or all these longs, and it's absolutely useless. Sadly, all the jobbers are going to actually take a good skill for once. So we're going to see a lot of jobbers that actually have see you later. So that's one negative. All the jobbers will have +1 good skill on pretty much all their Uman.
Sync on most of them as well. So um, losing this is basically losing a lot of your ceiling, and that is why I think you should be running a 0 LB copy of Light Hello SSR before an R copy. And that may be a hot take for some, but I don't
Nope.
value this training effectiveness. I feel like I can always
That is not a hot take. Nope. Nope. I don't think I've heard anyone say. I've heard rare is a copable card. Like as in if you don't have any copies of the SSR, you can use the rare. But here's the thing, we've been telling you since before even Trackblazer started. Light Hello's mandatory card, save up at least 200 pulls, because your worst case scenario is you do 200 pulls, you have to pity Light Hello, you have one copy of, you basically have Limit Break 0 Light Hello, and then you perma borrow Agnes Tachyon Speed. And if you've been smart with your pulls the entire time, like, or if you've been at least decently smart with your pulls, you should at least already have your Key to Sun Black. Hopefully you have one of your decent wit cards, whether it's Fine Motion. Maybe you pulled on Summer Maruzenski, you have Nakayama Festa. You should have wit kind of covered. And this is talking from someone who's been playing since day one. This isn't someone that's brand new. I'm going to make a separate video for a brand new person. And so you should be in a situation where you could deal with borrowing Agnes Tachyon outside of potentially Super Creek being needed. Like especially in the next one, but there's ways to work around that as well. And so you should have SSR Light Hello unless you just outright don't have 200 pulls, which means you weren't saving like you probably should have been.
go and high roll a run to get slightly better stats, but
What do you mean Rushing Gal is
the
useless? Just
energy
hit
that
it in
I'm
the Excel
losing
zone?
the energy that I'm losing over the course of time, and this gold skill is going to be worth any number of basically stats that are like, unless it's like 100. But man, this
I
is
will
like,
say,
we're
I will
talking
say
like
with Rushing Gale, there was, I think I've had a couple races where the jobber won because Rushing Gale did pop off perfect timing. I think I've seen, and it would happen perfect timing on the long. Like it was like, bam, Rushing Gale, and they take off.
this 5 tef being, even if you double this, it's like what, 40 stats versus energy on command plus see you later plus other stuff. I just don't see how this card compares at all, even to the 0 LB copy. But if that's all you have, do note she still has her scenario mechanic. You can still run with her, but you probably should be borrowing Light Hello at that point. Um, it's hard to say because this is not really a free to play friendly thing to say, but the SSR version just has so many advantages over the R version, even at lower limit break. That's all I wanted to say. I've been yapping about it probably a little too much. Other than that, this card gives you some
Yeah, holy crap. We're halfway through the video. He hasn't got the Agnes Tachyon speed yet. So I'm guessing the rest of the video is going to be Agnes Tachyon speed.
okay skills. The big one, of course, is see you later on the
Never take Maverick. Maverick sucks because Maverick requires you to be the only one in that position. And like the closest thing to Maverick even having some value could be like this current sprint. Like nobody's running end closers. I could see it using Maverick on an end closer, like in the sprint. Um, like that's like they're very rarely would I see any value in Maverick.
date event 5. Otherwise, Maverick, you never take this. This is how you kill the event off, and you need the events. It's 300.
Oh well, yeah, this is the killing the event. Never mind. You get this for when you kill her dating. Don't do that. I'm just talking about the skill in general, Maverick. Don't actually take the event that gives you Maverick though.
Energy. Otherwise, if you're a front runner, you get front runner savvy for free, and if you're a page chaser, you get a page chaser savvy for free. Other than that, doesn't really give you many skills. So in conclusion, Light Hello, first of the 2 cards we're talking about.
Where's she at?
This is a scenario
She's an alcoholic or something here? Or is this supposed to be something else? I don't know.
card due to her scenario link mechanic.
Ida-san Black looks very uncomfortable here.
If it's all you have, run R Light Hello, but SSR, even at level 0, is better than base Light Hello. And from everyone I've talked to, they agree as well. And that is my personal take on it. It's a very good card. It gives you a ton of energy no matter what you do. Yes, the training effectiveness is very nice at 2 LB, but there's no real big break point on this card. It's just slightly better stats slightly more energy. It gives you about a half training to a full training per run.
I don't know why anyone would kill the dates unless somehow she shows up senior year December. If you didn't kill the run at that point, like if you didn't kill the run when she didn't show up before the end of the first year, well, like you just don't go that far. Like the run's dead if you don't get her
Per
on
limit
time,
break
like
every
early.
single increase. So every single LB that you get of this card will
You're
have
already
value,
gluing. Like
but there's
this is the scenario where you're gluing your runs. Like you're just gluing the runs early a lot. It's very obvious very quickly if the run's a bad run. One of the nice things, this isn't like Unity Cut back when the run was amazing, and then you get to that final race and you lose. Even if you had 5 double circles, you lose the final race and the run dies at the very end. Grand Live, most of your runs will die very early. She's part of the reason if she doesn't show up. There's a multitude of other things like not getting enough songs, not getting your friendship up, and all that.
no specific
But yeah,
breakpoint that
you're
you should
never
be
gonna get to the
really
end of the
aiming.
run unless. And the thing is, with Grand Live, they're not good for. Grand Live is terrible for fans as well. You're not doing like any racing, at all. And so like if I don't get anything, like this is another one where if you don't get the inspirations you need, you also door the runs. Like I'm not gonna finish a run even after the second inspiration because it's not gonna be worth it for parents, and the fans is negligible in terms of the time I'm spending on it. That's what auto is going to be great for. Auto is going to be my new fan generator. So Grand Live runs for most people, you should be just killing the runs off as soon as anything happens that basically considers it glue.
For, in my opinion, except perhaps as people are saying 2LB for the training
She's
effectiveness. But
normally
even
portrayed
then,
as the
you
alcoholic
can go and
auntie.
just get that from other really good cards in your deck if you're at there.
Yeah,
But for a new player,
having your
again,
own
that
parents is very important. And that's why auto, you should be using the auto to get them at worst case.
training effectiveness is really where you base your stuff around, so it is more important. So that's my late hello talk. You yapped about this card enough, let's be honest. Let's talk about Agnes Tachyon speed. Let me grab a drink real quick.
And this card has the longer term value in terms of being used in ace runs, but Light Hello has value outside of Grand Live too, just because of playtime's over. Not for
Hey, I
aces
did say
though.
that it would be long. Welcome back if you're just using the timestamps, but let's talk about Agnes Tachyon speed. This is probably one of the best speed cards that's been released so far. This is
I'd consider it better than Kita-san Black outside of Kita-san Black having the better generic gold. Which is why this paired with Tokai Teo Wit, which is like literally right after her, definitely whale bait for us. Was whale bait for JP as well because the Tokai Teo Wit giving Professor of Curvature can basically make this kind of supersede it for some of the CMs where you actually just drop out Kita-san Black for Tokai Teo Wit.
technically a pace chaser card, but honestly, with its skill point bonus, it's really, really good either way. And with the scenario link, we'll be using it in Grand Live, even at its lower limit breaks. So the scenario link mechanic that happens on all scenario link cards.
I am now. He's probably going to say how it is copable and usable at lower limit breaks. I'm a MLB or bust type. Except if you're like a true free to play and you really have to borrow something else. If you don't have her MLB, it's like you just go all in on her. And this is why, to me, the scenario is about a 200 pull. See what you're working with after 200 pulls to make the decision of whether or not it's worth it to go to 400. Don't just do 400 because you can do 400. If you're going to push out the 400, you should be planning to do 600 then. Because 600 is going to give you the best mathematical situation. Well, technically you need more than that if you want the guarantee, but 600 has the very good likelihood that you're walking away happy in terms of doing all the pulls and being able to MLB Agnes Tachyon and having a copable light hello to you.
Is basically a +1 base to the actual number of start or song tokens that's generated. So instead of 11, due to some training effectiveness and stuff, it's 13. But basically, wherever this card goes, whatever start song piece it actually is giving you, it gives you 1 bonus prior to all the friendship bonus calculations that you would normally do and all the other
Now,
stuff that affects it. I don't know exactly which affects it enough.
I didn't recognize that. I forgot about that little mechanic with that, and that's what some of the other ones as well. And this is why, I mean, same thing with Silent Suzuka's speed will be a very good card to pair with her
right now, but just know that you will be getting more song pieces the more scenario link cards that are on it as a bonus, okay? The thing is that with this card, just for the scenario link bonus, this also happens on Agnes Tachyon Wit as well as other cards in the game. It's just speed cards.
I will say Agnes Tachyon Wit. I mean, 'cause she was the card I was using trying to test out as close as I could get to a Grand Live deck that was not like super overpowered with JP cards. And Agnes Tachyon Wit, I will say, did feel okay and copable. But still, speed went so much better for us. Because I was also using like a speed Silent Suzuka from the JP version, even though it was an SR. It's also a link match and gives a similar advantages to this card. And then the SSR that we currently have does have one skill point bonus, gets to take advantage of all these same things, and you get that skill point bonus off Silent Suzuka at Limit Break 1. So a lot of people who've been playing since day one may already have some copies of that from off manner pulls potentially.
Are harder to come by, especially those with scenario link. There's a lot of really good wit cards in the game. There's a few really good speed cards in the game, and the fact that this is a speed card that is very good, that also is scenario link, is kind of what is putting it above all the competition in Grand Live. Okay, so this is not necessarily a must have. This is a, if you have it, it's really nice, and you're going to have a significant advantage over the rest of the field with this card. For the LB comparison, there's a few things to note. This does have traditional breakpoints, unlike Late Hello. The speed bonus at level 1, at 1LB rather, is very powerful. We've talked about speed bonus before and how it's probably the
That's
most
strong.
important status bonuses because it adds to the base itself. And at 3LB, it does give SP bonus, which is going to be, over time, the most important stat in the game. So as you come.
Yeah, this is significant. And kind of looking at it with the 2 limit break, like, or 2 skill point bonus, you don't really see this very often for a while. It's a lot more normalized on the JP cards now, but 2 skill points is pretty rare still, and will continue to be for us for a little bit.
Comes with the one, basically the most important stat of today and of the future right now.
Yeah,
So we'll go over
do not cope. Like, this is one of those things, and I kind of I don't really talk about rainbow crystals too much when it comes to pulls. But this is a card, when you go do your 200 pulls, depending on how it goes and how many rainbow crystals you have, if you have, for example, Limit Break 2 after 200 pulls, I feel like it's absolutely worth it to push to Limit Break 4 if you have that rainbow crystal to top it off. Because to me, Limit Break 3, as good as it is, I feel it'll feel so bad to use it. It'll just feel bad. It's just like with Rico. Using low limit break SSR Rico felt just really bad. Knowing how much more powerful you could have it with higher limit break 3 will just feel really bad.
each one of these
yeah,
basically in
it's to
sequence.
me MLB or bust. That's my opinion because it's just so strong.
Is kind of weird, but at 100 bond, or when you see the Lord Max on her bond, she gains a bonus 20% friendship bonus. So realistically,
you should be maxing this fairly quickly too. Hopefully, because she does have decent special priority as well. Not as high as Kita-san Black, but if you MLB her, it's
her
a
friendship bonus
amount.
increases at
Now, if you're coping with lower limit breaks, it's of course a lot lower.
18 and goes all the way up to 24. So it's not really this. Sorry, it's 15 to 20. But
no, I wouldn't say you don't have to MLB it yourself. For a lot of people, it's get your copy of Light Hello and then you perma borrow Agnes Tachyon. If you've been playing since day one or you've been playing for quite a while, you should already have the bulk of the rest of your deck built out. There's a lot of copable Wit cards. I think Die with Scarlet Wit is a very good one. Die with Scarlet Wit having a very high, I think, initial friendship and a very high friendship bonus. So she's a very good stat stick Wit card. Like, there's a lot of free-to-play options that hopefully you've gotten over time, even on the SR side, that can allow you to perma borrow Agnes Tachyon speed. You can. The Tachyon SR is definitely copable. I've seen that. Still feel like this one's better.
Multiplicative nature
the difference
of unique effects,
to me,
basically this 20
enough.
is actually multiplying the other 20, and 20 times 20 is really 44, right? When it's there.
Because it does have one skill point bonus on the Wit one,
there's so
if I'm
much
not
stuff to talk
mistaken.
about. So There's multiplicative nature. This is the same thing that happens with Kiddos in Black and her specialty priority. It has increased values. Sorry about that. I think it's actually 15 to 20 for friendship bonus. But other than that, very powerful card. We'll be talking about it. Her very high specialty priority is also something that increased slowly over time that gives her an incredible amount of value. But we'll talk about a lot of this stuff. First of all, most important thing about pretty much any
Well,
card in
the
Grand Line
free
right now,
pulls, you should have the free
it's going to
pulls
be specialty
going up
priority.
to
And the reason
whatever
is that
the
snowball effect I
200
was talking
threshold.
about in the Light Hello card. So basically, if you are able to have cards on good trainings that are friendship bonusing over time, it means you get more friendship trainings, which means you get more tokens, which means you can buy more things. And then when you buy more when you buy more songs, you get more permanent buffs, and you snowball from there. So being able to do that quite high um, is very powerful, and Agnes Tachyon slowly gets better in that regard over time, having a bonus 7, especially priority every single level. What this kind of translates to is that at 0 LB, you'll be on average over 55 training turns. You can see the specialty priority equation here. 100 plus specialty priority over 550 plus specialty priority is what it is for every single training: speed, power, wit, stamina, guts. And Umamusume does it nicely for you here, but you can just take 150 for a 50 over 600 and get 25%, and it's 28% for 80, etc., etc. As we're going along, 55 training turns, we find the expected value. We have expected value of about 13.75 trainings. It's not exactly what it is, but for the purpose of what we need, it's what we are basically testing right now. So 13.75 trainings, and then 15.71 trainings over the course of
And that's
time for
average.
80.
That's
Now,
just
I believe it's a little
average.
bit
So
higher if we actually do the full binomial problem. But realistically, what you really should be considering is you would get about roughly a half extra time on speed per run per limit break. It's almost like Cygames is designing these cards to slowly, progressively get better over time without going anything too crazy. But this matters quite a bit because over the course of time, having 2 to 3 extra friendship trainings is actually like 60 song pieces, which is like
yeah, pretty
half of
significant.
it's like 2 lessons, right? I believe is actually what the conversion is. I could be wrong on that. It could be 2 lessons. I think it's an entire song's worth. And so this is actually quite powerful on its own when combined with other speed cards that are basically high, especially priority as well. After that, let's talk about our per tap strength. At 100 bond at speed level 3, that's what we're going to talk about. I like to go and do a level 3 training because it bridges the gap between summer
Yeah, so
training.
she actually matters. She's one of those cards. A lot of them have hitting, I think, 80 bond. This one's 100 bond on the trigger the unique. So she's one where you actually need to you kind of want to pay attention to getting it to
And
max in that
non-summer
respect.
trainings, and when you're building it up and when you're not building it up, basically the equation for per tap or per training is your base training plus your stat bonus, in this case speed bonus, multiplied or power bonus. We're doing our power, but per training, base training plus the stat bonus, multiply everything by your UMA's growth rate bonus that we nix right now because it depends on whatever your UMA is, multiplied by the mood, which is 1 plus the mood bonus, which will be 20% locked to great mood, mostly because we have a PAL card, times the mood effect. So something like 30% bonus mood effect would give us 1.26 modifier instead of a 1.2. Luckily, she doesn't have any mood this time. We multiply it by the training effectiveness, by the friendship bonus, and then a thing called participant count bonus, which is basically there is something on this training, therefore we get a 5% bonus multiplicative addition to it. If there's multiple cards plus NPCs, this increases. We generally just keep the first one. So we're going to be using this for all the LBs. So it's rather useful even
Pure
if it's
front
not
mains. I
100%
mean, front.
representative. So
I
we
mean,
take
there's
a
some
base
tracks where
0
front
LB
won't be
copy, which
as
does not have
strong, but
the actual
I think they're
speed
very
bonus, which
usable in
is
most
really
of them.
what
But
sucks about it.
you're gonna see Christmas Ogre Cap
10
be pretty
times
dominant on some
1.2
of them,
times
though.
1.05 times the 38% friendship training bonus because we
But
are at max
especially
bond multiplied by
the medium
1.05, we get
ones.
18.25 speed. Same thing for power, it's roughly about half. But once we get 1 LB, you can see the difference is actually a lot. It's additional 2 full speed just from this one, just because of all the various different modifiers that are attached to this just one speed bonus increase. The friendship bonus does increase a little bit, but most of this increase is caused by the speed bonus. That's why speed bonus is so powerful. The power bonus, on the other hand, because there isn't actually any bonus and it's just a little bit extra training effectiveness, or rather friendship bonus in that case, it doesn't really increase the power very much after that. At 3LB, do note that the friendship bonus is kind of increasing to its maximum, and it's actually somewhat significant. So we can see we do get a half a little bit over a half of a speed at that point, but it's nothing compared to the +2 speed that 1LB
Yeah.
does give us. Also note that the power does increase by a somewhat significant amount as well over the course of 1 to 3LB. For MLB, it's exactly the same. There's no friendship bonus increase, there is no speed bonus increase, there is no training effectiveness, and there's no mood effectiveness, which means
There's SP
all the
bonus.
training stats are
Significant.
exactly the same between 3LB and MLB. It maxes out at 3LB for training
Get
stats
those skill
only.
points.
Okay, training stats only. Now, if we do take away the passive and we're at 80 bond and a friendship, do note that basically everything gets nerfed by quite a margin, and basically because everything is lower absolute value, even though the actual absolute increase is roughly the same, the percentage increase is going to change lightly. And if we go and take the output to figure out what percentage of stat output of the card, which is I think the useful metric for training cards, basically a 0LB copy isn't good enough. It's about 90% of a card to 85. It's not like horrible, but you're really starting to look for the 95 percentile of SSR cards in order to get them at a level where you want to actually use them. So the 1LB copy, if it's not a friendship training, is giving you 100% of everything you need because it's only friendship bonus increase.
With the free
If it is,
pulls, you
if
have
it is a
those
friendship training,
900 pull. I am not doing no 800 pulls. No, I mean, you include the 100 pulls to top off at one of the 200 thresholds. So if you're only going to 200 and we get 100 pulls, you should only have to do 100 pulls in this manner. If you're going to 400, you do 300. If you're going to 600, you do 500. Now, we do not have confirmation that it's 100 pulls. The JP version also said 100 pulls with the same exact graphic, but it was still split amongst Agnes Tachyon and Tokai Teo Wit. We do not know for sure yet that it's 100 spells specifically on this banner until we get like the full update of it.
you're still getting about 96% of the stat output, and of course 2LB is 98, and then at 3LB you're just maxed out at that point. Its stats max out at 3LB, but there's a lot more to this card than just the stats itself.
All right,
First of
where's
all, the
that?
initial friendship gauge.
And this is something that is significant. It might not look like it, but because generally, unless of course you get charming, I'm guessing maybe he'll have the. Wonder if he'll show the math on charming itself. But the difference between 18 and 20 literally could be a single training, because you're trying to get to that max friendship on her. I mean, same thing with. I mean, when you get charming or something early on, that can be the difference depending on when you get it and how many friendships you've hit on her. That these could be the difference between one better training, an extra training that is really good with her versus another.
This is important in Grand Live because one less tap could mean one whole extra friendship bonus, which causes the cascade that I talked about
hey,
before,
you're saying
or
the same exact
snowball
thing.
effect. Basically, we can take 100, which is the maximum, because we are trying to get max because of the passive. We subtract 7 per training, and we subtract 5 per event equals our initial.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
friendships.
Pal cards is 7, right? Okay, so the math is
We can
different.
plug in I here. We go and do a bit of algebra and like move around all the terms. We find that basically 7 times the training number of trainings required is equal to 85 in this case, because we're talking about 15 initial friendship gauge. 12.14 trainings equals T. That's the number of trainings required to get it to absolute maximum. And if we are going at MLB for the 20, basically this makes it 80 required. It's 11.42. So it's one
a whole
training.
additional
Where the breakpoint
training.
actually is at that 1LB mark, which would be at 84. It would be exactly 12 trainings.
I wonder if he's showing it with charming, because charming. The thing is, charming, depending on when it pops up, if you ever get it, with the acupuncturist event, that changes that equation too. And the timing of it also depends. How many times have you done single hits versus the point that now you're getting the charming hits? And so it's almost always going to be a 1 to 2 difference.
All this to say,
potentially,
what you should be taking in out of this is the
two.
initial friendship, each LB up to MLB, which doesn't really give anything, has a reason for it. 1LB from 0LB to 1LB gives you 1 less training, so for the maximum only. So the maximum passive, it will give you 1 extra training. At 2LB, it'll give you 1 extra training at 80, which is less relevant than the maximum, but it means you have 1 additional chance of getting a friendship training.
Yeah.
At 3LB, it means that it means that not only do you have an additional training subtracted from the requirement, you also are able to use any event whatsoever, whether it's the first chain event, whether it's a random event. If any event of Agnes Tachyon procs, you get another threshold crossed in order to get to that bond level 80 and bond level 100. So an event can replace a singular training, which doesn't happen and doesn't require time, right? Doesn't require different taps in your run. At MLB, nothing really increases. So 3LB is kind of where the initial friendship, even
Yeah.
though there is
Yeah,
it
three
doesn't increase
LB
at
is
all. So
that
there's nothing
with
increasing
regards
for
to the
the MLB.
friendship for sure. Oh, hint frequency. Yeah.
Oh
Okay. So
boy. All right,
hints.
hints. So the hint frequency increased.
So this is what I've never really looked into the math on hint frequency, other than just saying bigger number equals better. I've never really thought. Now, hint levels, I've always cared about hint levels. But I will say hint frequency is going to become more and more important as time goes on through the scenarios. Because at this point, like in JP, the hint frequency on a lot of the cards are now like 100%. And when it comes to actually building parents and grandparents, a lot of it is built around the idea that you can reliably get all of the skills that you need off of your support cards now on JP to a certain extent. And so this actually is going to become more and more pertinent and important on support cards as we go down the line and bringing them value.
Do note that it does do stuff. Over the course of time, expected value is about a tenth, about 1 out of every 5 runs or so. It's a little bit more than 0.14. Depending on the number of taps that you tap on Agnes Tachyon. If you care about her hints, which are mostly page chaser hints, I don't think I put it on the slideshow, unfortunately. I may go and look at the game tour afterwards and add it in here, but if you care about the hints, do note that the MLB does make it so that it gives 2 taps to naturally remove them from the pool instead of 3, which means you will see more of her
Yep.
hints.
Now, if I'm
Otherwise,
not mistaken, she has a lot of hints. So she's not gonna I don't think. I don't think she'll naturally prune herself as easily as you see with some of the other cards that have less hints. If they're not like giving you max hint immediately, like something like the Muteki card, but the hint always gives you the ability to manually prune it as well at a discount, depending on if it's a skill you need or not.
her hint.
Yeah, I get that it's level 2 because it's on top of the one that you start initially with. I mean, I get that. He's just saying here that it takes 2 hints for you to no longer get the hint when you hit the card again. So
Frequency, roughly.
if this is just letting the card naturally prune itself. Which in the JP version, the ones that can naturally prune themselves in 2 hits are pretty reliable, but that's because they give also the frequency is pretty much a lot significant, more
Attributes
significant
to
too.
about 0.5% every single time she is training to have a chance of going along and giving you a hint. Now, whether she's on a relevant training or not is where this EV comes in. We find it's not really that important and impressive, but it's just a nice to have at that point. Future burp here, I just wanted to make sure I added these skills because they are very relevant for.
Yeah, they're big pace. And the thing is, it's not that I mean, it's not going to prune itself, but you can prune the card because you pretty much want most of these skills for your pace. This is going to be very strong for the pace Christmas Ogre Cap. You've got a lot of good stuff that you want on this card.
Chasers with the page chaser corners and straights, and of course, Unstoppable being a brand new 2.4.
Oh wait, is he saying what is the level? Was he wrong on that? Oh, it is. Yeah, it is hint level 2. Yeah, you're right. I got you.
Future burp here.
So it prunes it prunes itself in 2.
Wanted to make sure I added these skills because they are very relevant for pace chasers with the pace chaser corners and straights, and of course, Unstoppable being a brand new 2.4-second mid-range skill for pace chasers. That's quite good. Also, chances of head-on as well for the pace chasers. For the mediums as well, you get
which is buffed, much more valuable now.
Corners, medium straights, and up tempo as various hints as well. Just wanted to make sure I have it. There's the debuff for tether. I don't think that's very relevant.
Yeah,
but I
tether
wanted to
doesn't
make sure
matter,
I was
but
comprehensive in this.
I would say pretty much everything else. Pace Chaser Savvy as well. Just make sure, like, to me, groundwork's starting to gain, like, it's going to become even more valuable for your paces to get them to the front of the pace pack especially in these Christmas Ogre Cap battles where it's generally whoever's the most forward Christmas Ogre Cap wins.
So I included this. All right, back to me. All right, gonna grab a drink of water real quick. Okay, so initial stats. 25 to 35, bonus 10 for higher LB. Very simple as that. The overall estimate for stat output, taking everything into account, initial stats and everything, the 0 LB, I think, is where it really falls short due to that speed output, the speed bonus. After that, pretty much everything else is pretty darn close.
We
95%,
have a lot of
97%,
Zabedion is less of an
99%.
issue if
MLB
skills
is
are
pretty much
chained.
maximum.
Yeah.
The only difference really is initial
We're
stats
starting
and a
to
little bit more
slowly
specialty
add in more
priority, which is, of
skills.
course, important, but not the end of the day. Okay, so for stat output, 1 LB plus is perfectly fine, but there's something really important, and it's that ceiling that I was talking about. This card has basically more SP
Oh
than
yeah,
a lot
I
of
mean,
cards.
there
You
is
see
the
it's plus
chance if your
7
Ogre Cap's
versus
in
plus
first,
3.
you miss the
Let's
UA
compare it with a
equals
lot of other
MA2.
cards first,
That is
okay?
true.
So, output for speed, a 1 LB copy of Agnes Tachyon is going to be rather similar to pretty much
Which
every other.
that does make sense from the next upcoming dirt. That could be a little tricky. The thing is, you can still hit yours because you still have 3 heal that work. So you can still lose to the one that's in front of you. It's just you lose if they are a lucky pace and they're the front runner basically, because I doubt there's gonna be very many front runners. Yeah, it's gonna be because everybody's gonna pretty much bring debuffers that are gonna be all the way in the back, and then you're gonna have 3 Christmas Ogre Caps, maybe some Copano Rickies in there. That is something, but you do have 777, which means I still want to be in the front of the Ogre Caps, just because of that.
SR card, except that she has scenario link and helps you out greatly with the scenario, so you probably run it at 1 LB over at least these 3 in the back. Sweep Tosho has additional value due to her +1 SP bonus, having that +2 skill points increase. Okay, but other than that, their trainings are pretty much similar. Her MLB, compared to the other cards of SSR, she is relatively on par with pretty much everyone, except for Marzensky, who has higher speed output. Basically, she is really, really good. She is at the level of a Pico Pegasus, at a Sakura Bakashino.
With the skill points, the skill point. Look at that. Look at that. Low,
With the
big skill point.
bonus of basically having +2 SP bonus, which we'll talk about in a bit. And the thing to remember is that unlike Marzensky Speed, who does have more speed output, she has 80 specialty priority, which means she will be on that speed button more often, probably 2 to 3 times more due to the increase in specialty
Yeah.
priority. Okay. The thing about this SP bonus and what makes her so powerful, first of all, the 1 LB copy, if you have a bunch of other MLB SSR cards, it's just not going to cut it because
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but the 1 LB
And this
copy
might be why my take is some people might consider a little crazy, but that it's MLB or bust. But yeah, it's just compared to the other ones, you're
is
losing a lot.
23, I guess.
Now, one thing he is missing here, he's missing another one, and he doesn't have the full breakdown on it. But another one that is a link match here is Speed Silent Suzuka, and she does have skill point bonus in hers as well. I don't know how her speed carry or her speed here calculates out. But I mean, you can take a look at her real quick here. But she is another one that is link match, and this is the gotcha one. I'm not talking about the free ones. I'm not even going to look at the free ones, but they could potentially work as well, being link matches. But yeah, she has 35% training here. She has decent starting friendship at MLB. Now you could have lower limit breaks on her as well, but she has 1 skill point bonus, a decent starting friendship, decentish friendship special priority, big friendship bonus. No training effectiveness, no. Has a lot of front runner stuff, and then has unrestrained, which on some of the CMs, I think it's 2 of them during Grand Live, will be a useful skill for your front runners. So one thing to take in consideration there.
cards.
Yeah, hers is only 1 skill point bonus, but Kita-san Black is 0. I think Madazensky's 0 as well too, isn't it? Or does she have 1? I don't think she has 1. I think it's only Tacky Shuttle and Taiki Shuttle and Agnes Tachyon are the ones with skill point bonus.
It's just not going to cut it because it's. I mean, you can, but the 1 LB copy, it's 23. I guess you can. I suppose it's still fine at 1 LB with the skill, but the skill point bonus is really what's putting it ahead of these cards. Here's why.
Yeah.
Sorry for rambling. I've been rambling so much.
Yeah, the skill point ban. This is why it's MLB or
There's just so much
bust.
to talk about. When you're in a scenario and you need skill points, there's two ways of grabbing it: the race bonus and the SP bonus of your cards during training. The race bonus in Grand Live, because this is so hostile
Doesn't matter. Does not matter at all.
to racing, is pretty much gone. The only thing race bonus really does is increase your.
It is not fine. Yeah, I mean, the entire point is the SP bonus. That is huge. The link match, very good stat stick, and then from what I understand, I've seen some people say that like this is the difference between like MLB or not is like the difference between one or two skills potentially. It's quite
It
significant.
increases your rewards for various different events in the scenario, which is useful, but most of your SP is going to be given from your trainings, which is where SP is so powerful. It's really hard to model this, but you can basically consider this just like any other bonus, like a speed bonus or a power bonus. Just the facility gains for Grand Live have basically 4 SP, except for Wit, which has 5 SP, which means a plus 1 SP bonus is 20% more SP from training when you're training with her. And plus 2 is 33% because, of course, it stacks and diminishing returns. It's 6/4, right? So it's a lot of skill points in absolute levels. You can see right here that the same solo training with Kidus and Black is only 3 skill points and is all the way up to 7
It's significant.
despite only having.
And there is, and the whale decks, I think for the mile includes Taiki Shuttle. And just imagine with Taiki Shuttle at that 5 and 7.
2.
And then you bring in like Speed Suzuka, because I'm pretty sure Speed Suzuka is also good on the mile. Like your true whale deck for the mile, I believe, is Speed Suzuka. You have Taiki Shuttle, Speed Suzuka. I believe I've seen differences depending on the skills you want. You might take Summer Marizinski over her. But you ditch Kitas on Black completely, and the whale deck brings Tokai Teo Wit for Professor of Curvature.
Skill point bonus because of the sheer amount of friendship bonus that's actually on the card. And this
but
goes
yeah,
in
then you
multiplies.
mean that's what I'm saying. But then you need Marizinski, so I believe you drop her. You take Silent Suzuka, Marizinski, and Taiki Shuttle, and they make up the skill point difference because Suzuka has skill point bonus. I'd have to look at it. But yeah, Taiki, Suzuka, and Marizinski for the mile is like the true whale deck. But then you also need Tokai Teo Wit as well.
With every single like double and triple training that you have as well. And it adds up over time. My best estimate is probably around 120 bonus skill points that you're going to get from this card on a standard run. Like I said, you're training with it about 18 times roughly. If you're training with it 18 times, realistically, it's closer to what, 26, because you're counting the ones that aren't friendship training.
But yeah, if you don't bring her, you can always, like you can bring Tachyon in the replacement of any one of the cards, realistically. It's just the difference between those is a gold skill.
26 times by 4 is 100, and you're probably multiplying that by the friendship bonus of other cards like double and triple trainings maybe 5 times in a run at most. So somewhere around the 100 to 140 skill point bonus is my personal estimate. And that's where you see the sort of SP targets people are talking about. 2800 to 3200 SP target is what you're generally going to see people say. And I think the bonuses is basically kind of completely determined by the skill point bonus that you're ending up running. And the fact of the matter is that this card has great trainings. Like I said, it's on par with the other SSR cards, and it has 2 SP bonus.
Yeah, I mean this is pretty much the difference maker potentially between them.
So you're able to increase your ceiling higher without sacrificing any of your speed output. So taking that into consideration, I need to modify my sort of overall value analysis. Basically, 0LB is down to 83%. I subtracted about 5 to 7% from each of these because that skill point bonus matters quite a bit. That is basically a full, like a half of a gold skill or a full white skill. And that's has value. 1LB copy, 90%, 2LB, 92%, 3LB, 95%. MLB is, of course, MLB. And I think that at this point, 1LB, 2LB is completely usable, 100%, but there is certainly value for getting it MLB because that skill point.
I mean, to me, yeah.
Bonus is going to increase your.
I'm an MLB or bust type of person, and you plan around perma borrowing it or not, depending on. I mean, there's a lot of factors into your deck that you could potentially make work, like I just kind of talked about, where you could ditch Agnes Tachyon, but you already have to be a whale at that point, so you're going to have MLB for Agnes Tachyon anyway, if you have the alternate deck that can kind of work without it.
Feeling above
But
the other players. So
people are going to struggle a lot in Grand Live because they also, well, Grand Live does have random skills it gives you in the songs. The problem with them is they don't. I don't believe the ones with the random hints don't give the stats, and they also are more expensive. So if you're buying the skill hint ones, it's a low roll by default, just because you're not getting stats, and it's taking more of your tokens. And so you're going to rely way more on parents because you don't want to rely on skill hints.
my final analysis in
But
this.
yeah, I get that it's
If you're
nowhere near as
coming
good as
back to
man
here at the very end,
because it's not a default. You don't want to take the skill hints. Like, it's a waste of tokens, and that skill hint could just be some complete random garbage. So you're always going to want to take the other things.
was a timestamp for it if you didn't want to see any of the math. Light Hello is a must use. You need an SSR copy of this, in my personal opinion.
Oh, this is okay.
If
He's
you
at the
want
end. Oh my god, we're
to
almost to the end. 4 minutes left.
ease yourself a lot in Grand Life, you can technically use
I
the
don't think
R
I don't
version.
think I
It's just
tripled
going
it.
to
I'm pretty sure I think I was a little bit more reasonable on the value of time on this
hurt.
one.
Okay, a 0 LB copy of Light Hello is going to be better and more comfy for you. So that is the most important thing for me to what I would grab first. After that, it's kind of based on your playstyle. First of all, there's a thing to consider on a double banner that at the very least you have the option, if you have very good cards for your various roles, like a Kidison Black, let's say a Summer Marzensky, that you could borrow lock yourself, meaning that you go all in on one card and you lock the other one. The problem with this is
I mean, that's what I think a lot of free to plays could do. You have 200 pulls, you have your Light Hello, Perma Borrow, Agnes Tachyon. It sucks, but that's the best way to save pulls. Um, and this scenario could be viewed as another one where you could, depending on how your luck is with the free pulls, you could save up for some even like Major Romanu. There's quite a few decent Umas in Grand Live. I feel like Grand Live is more of an Uma pull. There's a lot of decentish Umas to pick up. Key to Sunwhite, Seeking the Pearl, Aston Matchan, Ines Fujin Valentine's, Rita Bryan. There's a lot of random ones in there that are good. Some good but more whaley support cards in there. And if you can walk away with this one, especially as free to plays, but it ultimately comes
that if
down
there's a
to
card later
the first, you absolutely need the 200 pulls. Take the free pulls plus your own pulls, take it up to 200, and any deciding on if you want to go any farther than that should be dependent on how well those first 200 pulls went.
on down the line, especially for late surges with Daichi Ruby, and you don't get it, you're not going to be able to borrow it, which makes you behind everybody. And this is kind of a difficult scenario to borrow lock yourself for. So there's that consideration, is that
Yeah, Daichi Rubu is a
if you
strong
believe in the
card.
strength of the rest of your cards and you have all the cards you need, you could go all in on one of these and get like a 0 LB copy of
Now, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, like he's going to say, 0.
the other, just for use in the occasional run where you don't want to borrow lock yourself. That's consideration number one. Realistically, I think it's a matter of what's your risk tolerance. If you want to be comfy, put more LB onto Light Hello. It makes your life a lot easier. I wouldn't probably do more than 2 LB. That training effectiveness does get it slightly more than the rest of it, but it is more energy the higher you go. Agnes Tachyon really, really wants to be MLB with that +2 skill point bonus. And if you have the option of getting this card MLB while still having a decent copy of Light Hello, I personally think there's an argument to MLB this card and then get a 0 LB copy of Light Hello. I think the stat and skill point increase of Agnes Tachyon, the skill point bonus, is rather effective. And I think if you're willing to high roll, as the scenario is a high roll one, I
Yep.
think that Tachyon speed at MLB is going to be very powerful this scenario. Take this with a grain of salt. I haven't played the scenario. Remember that.
I've seen it firsthand, the skill point difference. It is quite significant. I mean, there's different ways to cope with honor. As someone mentioned, you have Agnes Tachyon Wit, which does have skill point bonus herself. And you might be able to make it work, especially like you could probably cope away if you bring like I said, like some of the other cards that can try to offset it, but you're never going to get it as strong as having her.
But just on paper, it does seem that the ceiling is increased with Tachyon speed, and Light Hello at the end of the day is a must-use card because of her scenario link. but after that, it's a bunch of energy.
Ace, I don't know about that. Track Blazer, I was doing a lot of dooring as well. It was just on the first inspiration that took me 20 minutes to get to it.
Which is, yes, very nice and
I
does
like being able
translate
to
to
door the
stats,
Uma
but
much quicker.
so does skill point bonus. It translates to skills, which will help you on later on. So
But that's going for high
that is my
rolls.
personal thing that I will be kind of using.
I mean, Grand Live will be miserable in the sense that it is going to be, you're going to be doing a lot of runs. But I'd rather be able to try and just be able to spam runs over and over and over again versus trying to get the one good run on Track Blazer.
I will see, and honestly, there's so much RNG in the pull system, which we'll go over in a little bit, maybe on a future video, that you're not really going to have too much agency with this decision. But just know MLB Tachyon, very powerful. Light Hello is going to give you a lot more comfort. So I know this was long. I know this was rambly. Honestly, I'm on vacation right now, so I don't have my proper setup. I'm
I'll
hunched
do a
over in a
double banner
chair.
math
Oh,
soon. I was the one that asked him specifically for that. I did already. We did react to somebody else that did kind of the math. Now he didn't cover all the different like scenarios you could think about because he was a fairly new player. But he was thinking about it. If these are your thresholds, these are why you would want to do 200 versus 400 versus 600 pulls. But it also doesn't take into consideration if you do 200 pulls and you get a certain amount of cards, when then do you make a decision to pull more or not? And so, and I'll make my own video kind of covering it as well, because my thoughts are have 400 pulls ready to go and do two, but don't plan on using them unless the 200 pulls dictate that it's worth it. So plan on 200, and if it's good enough to dictate going to 400, you go to 400. That's my thoughts. Or if you're like me and like you absolutely want to MLB Agnes Tachyon and have run your account that way, 600. And Jesus Christ, if you get screwed on that, well, that's what rainbow crystals are for. Hopefully I don't get screwed. But you can also kind of use the rainbow crystals in any math that you might want to use to dictate it from 400 pulls. Personally, I wouldn't want to. But it ultimately comes down to how the first 200 go. But this is overall going to be the React and Light Hellos video. Pretty good information overall. A couple things in here I didn't really know about on it. But I mean, as you can see, both very strong for Grand Live. He didn't talk about it, talk about the cards outside of Grand Live. This was mostly focused on Grand Live. But
future
Agnes
prepare, I just
Tachyon,
want
Agnes Tachyon is still very good outside of Grand Live and can, especially if you're brand spanking new. Um, this is a really good banner to re-roll on. Get your Agnes Tachyon to help carry you, and it pretty much can replace Kita-san Blackmore you, other than not having Professor of Curvature. And then you can get into the Super Creek Mr. CB card to get your Stamina Wit card, and then you're just chilling to pull in Major Romanu, and then you're pretty set for getting caught up as a new player. But and then Light Hello to me will be a great parent card long term. When you look at it, when you look at Light Hello, let's go to See You Later here. You can kind of see, we don't see it outside of it being on, of course, Major Palmer and Ines Fujin, the Desert Island version, which he comes out quite a ways away. We don't actually see this on another card into the Onsen scenario PAL card. So if you're needing to build playtimes over into your parent, I don't care if it is the Grandmaster's scenario. Light Hello is going to be a great card for helping get playtimes over in there. And when you kind of look at the cards coming out in the future, I will say, playtimes over is not as important long term, as there's a lot of cards that are meta cards that end up having it. I mean, you can look at like Oh Favorite Guts, you have Still in Love Speed, you have Die with Scarlet Wit. I mean, I don't know all of the ones. Forever Young. Okay, now we're getting really far away. But as you can see, there are some that kind of carry it built into it. But you're not always going to be using these meta cards in your decks, and so having the ability to easily build into your parents, Light Hello increases the odds from 20% to 40% by default. If you have it in the other change, of course you can bring it all the way up to a 70% chance to get the spark with the gold version. And then again, she's just a good generic PAL card to bring on the parent runs, unless you're trying to get something out of the other PAL cards, which I don't believe. The other really good one that I really like, which because you really don't want to go too deep into them. But like hers is, I don't think is important, and I don't think I really like another pal card as a generic parent card until the directors, and that is because she has Super Stan, which is the gold version of Umastan, but that one's also on gold speed gold ship, so there's other ways to get Super Stan built into parent chains a little easier. But okay, I don't need to drag this on any longer though with my yapping overall, but pretty good video. Lightburb does really great work on going into the math. I like to stick to the more generic math of whether or not it's worth it or not. So kind of good to see that perspective. A couple things in there that are real I didn't even know about. But yeah, that'll be pretty much it for this react. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.